Hi, and welcome to this week's edition of Discover Torah and Ger. I'm your host, as always, Rabbi David Katz. Thank you for your round of applause. You're too kind. Stop it. You're making me blush. This is part 2 in our mini-series. Bottom of the first page. Thank you, Justin Becker. If you don't know what I'm talking about right now, I urge you to stop watching the YouTube video and go back and listen to part 1 in this series. You'll find it on the YouTube list. And then you'll be ready and primed for this class, which I don't want to introduce because we already introduced it in last week's class, Type 1. I'm going to do a lot of kind of Hebrew fast skimming, which is not pertinent to the discussion. And when there's an Indian we want to really talk about, we will slow down and say it slowly and clearly. Type 1. Pardon my murmuring here in Hebrew, but we are in textual analysis. And the text is in Hebrew. The text of the Green Book is a commentary on Avodah Zarah, which deals with many topics concerning the Omus Oivim and their righteousness and their wickedness, idolaters and ger, and everything else in between. Are you ready to start? We said that Torah, Shabbos, and Bris Milah require a certain level of observance by these righteous Gentiles, if we want to call it that. And the Gentile is symbolized by his foreskin. I want to stop using that English word foreskin because it's a little gross. Let's go ahead and call it oral. Everyone say oral. Ayin Reish Lamed. Oral. Everyone got it? Oral. And if I say circumcised, that's called moil. Justin Becker, is this good for you? If I say oral and moil. John Pring, is this good for you? Moil and oral. Oral and moil. Oral, foreskin, moil, circumcised. So we have a crisis of oral. And I'm not saying the English word oral. It is the Hebrew word aral. And we want the people in the world to get a relationship with God, merit the world to come, open up these 3 things to make them moil. Right? We want to remove the label of oral and make them considered moil. And is the burning question, is moil literal, Milah, or can we satisfy with a conceptual Milah? Can you conceptually lose oral? What do you guys think? Yes or no? What do you think? Let's go. Type your answers. You think so? You think you can be so spiritually not oral that you're considered moil? Is that what you think? Well, I think your first answer was correct, John. I think you should type 1. Go ahead and type 1 for me. Justin, what do you think? Can a person who's oral be so spiritually in tune that they become moil? Hello, Brookie Lee, good to see you. Justin, what are you trying to understand? I'll say it in gross terms. Ready? Can an uncircumcised goy circumcise himself without having actually physically doing it? Can he receive a spiritual circumcision that will actually give him the world to come? That's the question. Sorry I had to make it a little bit gross. Brookie Lee, pardon me. But what do you think about that question? I.e., can a straight-up idolater change his essence spiritually such that he enters the world to come? It's like Jeopardy. Boom, 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 boom. Well, we're going to answer that question. In fact, you want me to tell you the answer already? Who wants the answer already? And we're going to do the text, but do you want me to tell you the answer, or do you want to find out through the book? The answer is yes, you can. You can spiritually change your body, so to speak, and go from oral to moil and inherit the world to come. It's called Hasid Omos Ha'olam. Rambam Hilchos Melachim 8, 10, and 11. That's the answer, but pretend I didn't tell you that, and we're going to go ahead and learn it out in the book. That's what we're doing in the Green Book. You guys want to learn the Green Book? Green Book it is. All right. Hine Torah Meshik Sheichel Yom Shabbos. Torah and Shabbos are very synonymous. Kimedavaya Mehada Kul Yom Shabbos in the Torah. The Gam of Zara and Muvenis, Pipasha Jari Shabbos, Uladis, Albrias, Oilam Lachem, Nishav Zara, Shabbos Lagamri. Someone who does idolatry, symbolized by his being oral, is blocked out of Shabbos, is blocked out of the Torah, blocked out of circumcision, blocked out of the world to come. Type 1, if you understand, an idolater is blocked out of all of the goodness that is represented by Israel. 1 or 2? Everyone type 1. All right. Okay, just continue that point. Next point. And it's all the same point. We're answering the same question into the whole class today. The question is, how do the Hasidei Omos Ha'olam, think Rambam 8, 10, 11, inherit the world to come without being circumcised? Isn't that a great question, Justin B? Type 1. Vahina used to be Gemara Avodah Zarah 10b. It says in Avodah Zarah 10b, but if you want to reference this, go to Avodah Zarah in the Talmud 10b. And it's about Ketia Bar Shalom, who was a ger in the Roman army. And he circumcised himself, and by doing so, he skipped Gehenim and was ready to enter the world to come. He didn't enter the world to come. He was ready to enter the world to come. And we're saying that's the template. And he didn't receive a kosher circumcision. He did it himself. And the question is, does that count? Does that work? And anything like that, does it work? Okay, I'm going to tell the story. Go read it in Avodah Zarah 10b. Rashi wrote, okay, Rashi writes over there. Not pertinent to our discussion. We can infer from this that a goy that circumcises is the only way to get the world to come. And there's what we learned from that is that there's a tax. You have to pay a tax to merit your portion in the world to come. All right? There really is a thing. The foreskin is like a taxable item. And when you exchange that thing, you receive the world to come. We infer the world. What's that? We infer. No, you inherit, not infer. You inherit the world to come with no Gehenna. Now, Ketia Bar Shalom proves to us, and any goy that goes through a physical circumcision of any kind in the name of the world to come, unlike our Muslim friends who do circumcision not for the sake of the world to come. They are considered oral, mamish, type 1, Justin. But one with the right intention will inherit the world to come by paying his tax. And again, the only question after that is, do we have to physically, reality do it, or can we spiritually do it too? Type 1. And the Rambam in 8:11, he wrote, okay, just quote the Rambam, 8:10-11, one who inherits the word of the comes called a chassidus of Adam. The King's of Rambam, Hil's Shuva, look at the Rambam, and the Miri wrote that explicitly that the righteous of the world, the Chassidim was Olam, receive the world to come. And this is what it meant by Rebbe and Antoninus, the Rebbe, and Antoninus had the world to come, and he had circumcision, and he was called of the Chassidi almost. And the Rambam there explains it. Look again in Hilchos Malachim 8:10 and 11. And Katia Bar Shalom, our friend from Avodah Zorah, 10b, even though Lo Haya Nitzrich Lezeh, he might not have had to circumcise, but he did, therefore he was ready for the world to come. But here's what the Aaron's Milah does the Hayin Shamash Abil came, Shem Yerushalmi, the Mal, but this guy Rakasha. Shein Udozo, Shelagamora Haita. But Abish is going Ma Shoel, Klal Im is on the little book. Okay, we're just reading the same reiterations here. Nothing, no enlightening things. The Bishlam and Madam Mina and the Katiba Shalom, the eyes of Allah mixes. Shagam, Shahed, Vima Yehudim, Avallah, Matzeno, Shekayim, Zaymitz, the Kima, the Low Havi, Gertosh, Lechain, Hoser, Lemol, Gadelas, Muslim, So, Katia Bar Shalom was not a Noahide, not really. He was a Roman guy. So, in order to get the world to come, he couldn't keep the 7 laws as proof because he hadn't kept them. And therefore, to be ready for the world to come, he had to circumcise. If he would have been a Noahide, a proper Noahide, according to Rambam 8:10-11, which is Ger Toshav Chassidos Olam, not the Noahide that we know. Why? Because the Noahide that we know doesn't have to reject Shituv. So since he wasn't following the Rambam's prescription, or what the Rambam prescribes, he circumcised, and therefore he merited the world to come. But had he kept the Rambam's prescription, he would not have had to circumcise. So Antoninus, we say of all the Antoninus, and Antoninus, we say Lafi Pshuto kept the 7 laws of Noach. To basically cover both opinions of circumcision and 7 laws. Because we know for a fact that Antoninus married the world to come. And it was just a little bit different than Katia Bar Shalom. Katia Bar Shalom shows that the Milah works. Antoninus shows that for sure both work. And the Rambam, right. So the Rambam was going to say that Antoninus, if he would have just kept the 7 laws and didn't circumcise, he still would have got the world to come, which shows that, Justin Becker, you can't spiritually change your existence of foreskin by keeping the 7 laws. Your entire being changes so that you are accepted and ready and fit for entering the world to come. Mavai returns to the Rambam, sphere that Chassidim was all the Taisvis imply you have to get circumcision. And the Rambam implies that the 7 laws are enough. When I say 7 laws, we're not talking 7 laws of Noach, we're talking 7 laws Ger Toshim, rejection of Shituf. Circumcision is equal to the Shevet. Yes, when you reject shituf. If you don't reject shituf, then the 7 are not enough, and you are still considered a ben noyach and not a ger toshav from the Hasidic also oizlam, just in type 1. Yisaydo shelagrach yesh arlos michmas agiyos. If Shalom Mizan, Ina Megamar, the common. If Varni Yisrael Shalom Mal Kashya, the Mol Yisrael Ache. Rahim O Chisarni, the Mol Yamol, the Yisrael Papi Shalom Mol, Havi Moil, Gabrina Nagabe, in Nidarim, Shehen Nedem, and Moilim Asur, the Arle Yisrael. Vayini Lahini and Kurva Pesa, the Chius Truma, Lomi, and Hachi. Elam Yishalom Mal, Havi Arab, Asur, Pesa, and Truma. The Hikshua Taisfis, the Maish, Nan, Linia Milah. Avi Kamoil, with hairs of the Hegel, Shalom, relation of the Aro, Lo Myram Israel, Bonachri. Azamin on Israel, Aro, Avi Kamoil, Avo Pesach. Okay. Not Aranian. Vaiter and Shas. Vaiter and Shas means let's go. Uksav, Hakehelis Yaakov, Sheyesh the Farish, Boifleche. Alpi Marsha, Bier Grach, Rashidus Rambam, that's Vilas, Amohosiv, Ma'akvis, as a Pesach, Vikash, the Loman Saint Iraq. Shemilas, okay. Well, this is skip a little bit, not our sugya. The Giyas Gufa. Okay, what is it? Let's look up this word. Gavios. Want to look up that word? Let's just be. I don't want to say it in Hebrew. I want to say the right English. Gavios. Ready, Justin? Gavios. Gavios. You know what? Maybe I should look it up in the Hebrew. I'm in the Aramaic. How do you spell that? Gavios. Oh, is it Lashon Goyos? Goyot. That's how you say it. Govim. Okay. Yeah, it's like it's an acre term of a proper goy idolater. Right? It's a distinction of the foreskin is the distinction of goy idolater. And we say the foreskin, obviously, that's not connected to the 7 laws. All right, we're in, he's talking about Yavamis 71a. Shahari Gemoira Mochicha the Nachri Havi Oiro. Then this is the level of the Nachri. If you want to know what a Nachri is, this is the Nachri. Laying Truma Madi Tanami, no, Hanamina Orlim Asur Ben Nachri Moil, Mashum Ki Kulagoyim. All Nachri are oral. The Lo Amrinan, the Lashin Adar Mashani, Ela Lindon Min, Hakra, the Goy Afapisha, Moil. Even if it's a circumcised Nachri, he's still considered oral because the Kavanah was wrong. Hariana Lamidin Mahai Kra de Esam Gavia is Neshev La Arlus. Lachain Imaus Nikrayus Yeshalayur Shem Arlus Ma'akis Pesach, or Mashuna Hada Milah Magus Bavadim in Ego Mishumits was Milah Elam Mishum Hashem Arlus. So when you hear, this is very important. Type 1 if you're ready. A goy that keeps Shabbos is Chayav Misa. A goy that learns Torah is Chayav Misa. Right? What that means is that when you are oral, you cannot learn Torah or do Shabbos. And the reason why is you won't understand the Torah and you don't recognize Shabbos. Remember, go past the Lafib Shuto. But the blockage is the oral. It's not just a law. It's not some kind of thing. He's saying it's a reality, right? Those that are, this is our whole premise. Being oral is blocked out. The Jewish people were removed from oral through the commandment of circumcision. And they also physically are considered moil for having physically removed it. Yisrael Shaloma Havi Moil Vazeh Shalom Salam Arlos Goyis Gav Havi Oro Mashum Shana Masolas Arlos Basa. Imav Yeshlo Shem Moil Mashum Izatam Zek Var Sagi the Indian Lamol Israel Indian Rock Shiro Le Shem Moil Velo Moina Shal Aim Lo Shem Oro Mashum Havi Yisrael Oro Yachol Limol given Havi Moil. Okay. If you're oral, you're puzzle. Puzzle means rendered unfit. Yisrael Shalom after Yisrael Moil Mashum Shinu Yisrael Havi Nami Oro Mashum Arlos Basar. Okay. So we've identified the problem. Correct? There was a Har Sinai that removed a people from being oral. The nations of the world have a path in front of them to either remain oral or to remove the distinction of oral. And that is their mission in life. The Jewish people, their mission is to remain moil, and when they are considered as having gone off the derech is when they try to become oral. You understand how it's kind of like a yin and yang? The Jew is moil, and unfortunately he's trying to become oral. His mission in this world is to remain moil. The non-Jew is oral, and he's trying to become moil, unless he chooses to remain oral. One or two. One or two, one or two, one or two. Hello, 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 hello. Ger Toishiv is a type of conversion. Mixas Geirus. It's a type of, remember, what is a Jewish convert? Someone who does the circumcision and dunks in a mikveh, type 1. So Ger Toshav is a partial gior. And that's what we're going to investigate, right? How does the Ger Toshav gior work? Remember, Ger is language gior. It's a type of conversion. Rambam in 14 of Asuri Bia, Halakha Dali, Zilshan Mamilo, Lami Shabal is Gair, Yadeh Shoyel Maba, Eno Safal Tarikim of Israel. Ukvar Yeshua Ramam, Soiter Zatzmo. Okay. So von Ragas, Rim is Rebbe, Elo, Hills Malachim, Hills Juva, Zavi, Chakazim, Modali, Yishno, what? Then the Hasid has the world to come. About Karkas are Lama, the Mashuk Ramam, Shabak Israel, Yeshua, Maba, Hainal Fugigli. When we say that only Jews have the world to come, type 1, if you've ever heard, only a Jew has the world to come. Type 1 or 2. Type 1. Let's go. So that is coming to say a Jew has the world to come and not an oral goy. Type 1. A Jew has the world to come and not an oral goy. Type 1. Aval Ger Toshav, who is a Chassid, Havi Le'inyan Zeh, according to this thinking, he's like Israel and he merits the world to come. See how simple that is? 1 or 2. 1 or 2. Just a beat. There you go. With time, the goy is kept out of this level of world to come. He has another level, but it's not this level. He didn't pay his tax. Remember, God deposited tax on the world through the foreskin. It's really where the body and the soul. It's the nexus, the body and the soul. The Rabbeinu Gershom, priest excited to get Toshav. A Ger Toshav is a partial conversion. And the Rashba writes, a Ger Toshav, the Lashon of the Gershon is Gair. A Ger Toshav is language, Lahit Gair. Ksav Gabi Shchitas Ger Toishiv. A Ger Toshav is removed from the status of the nations. Ger Toshav is a partial conversion, and he inherits the world to come. Even though, pay attention, Justin Becker, that he's not circumcising the flesh, but in any case, he removes the name uncircumcised from the goy status. And therefore, he is considered circumcised. That he removes that idolatrous distinction, because what is the ikar of goy? Uncircumcised, which is stam goy, but ger toshav is someone who keeps the 7 laws. He has a partial gior, and he's considered circumcised. And as the Rambam explains, he's chasidi, almost a olam. He has the world to come. He paid his tax and removes the bondage, keeping him out of Torah, Shabbos, bris milah, the world to come. What do you think about that? 1 or 2. What do you think about that? Pretty profound, isn't it? And the Rambam and the Taisvis argue this. So there the Ger Toshav argues there is to mix this. The Rambam is saying the Ger Toshav is Gior, and it removes that foreskin, and he inherits the world to come. Tosfos is not thinking the Ger Toshav is like a Gior unless you circumcise. That a Nachri's got to remove the foreskin in order to get the world to come. Because you have to pay that tax physically. And they learn it by Antoninus. It says, Geras Rag to somebody Shalos Sila Bezez Hashem Oz the Goyis. Okay. And the Rambam is saying, Kol Hamei for Brisa Shavim Ravino V'Niach Alaso or Mishka Vishish V'Yad Bazadavik. Anyone that doesn't do this removes the covenant of Abraham. You know, Mashiach Rambam the judges level of Mashiach Shazim. He was honoring Mashiach Rambam, so he missed Sagi, the Solek Achas, Mishtei Arlis Fieshlo. So what we see is that with the Tosfos, they're holding that Lecharchila. That for sure, if you circumcise, you're in. Rambam is showing you that there's another way. And the Tosfos will learn from Katia Bar Shalom. Rambam will learn that Antoninus shows us both. The mitzvahs and physical circumcision. No one says you have to have both. Obviously, it works if you have both. All right. And now, and now, to remove the status of goy from Shabbos through the foreskin, that real rest is not known by those who are oral. And Shabbos is like the world to come. So in order to enter into the world of Shabbos, you got to pay the tax, like Katia Bar Shalom. Again, this is all repetitive from here on out. And that paragraph just continues that. Yes, I think we're done with this. This is the whole point. It just repeats itself to the end. It's a short class today. And we can open up for discussion. Hold on a second. Tax is a literal no. Tax is tax. You have to literally pay the tax. And there are two ways that you can pay the tax. By circumcision, literal, or by spiritually circumcising through the mitzvahs. If you do one or both of those, you have literally paid the tax. Either you physically change your essence or you spiritually change your essence, and they both are considered paying the tax, and you will have Torah comprehension. You can have both, or you can have one or the other. It's up to you. You can have both, or you can have one or the other. When you remove being oral, you become moil. Now the difference, Justin Becker, is that being moil does not make you Jewish. That is a third step of called a kosher bris milah, physically, not spiritually. There is no spiritual circumcision of Judaism. It does not exist. You have to go through a kosher conversion, kosher circumcision done by a Jew with a proper mikvah, proper intentions. That makes you Jewish. Someone that wants, so to speak, the world to come, not for the sake of, but just to be, how do you know what you are? You have to have a circumcision, not Jewish, doesn't need to be done by a Jew. It doesn't have to be kosher like a Jew, but you have to remove the status of being called oral. Anything that you do physically to affect that is with the proper intention is no longer being oral. If you don't want to go physical, you can spiritually change your essence to the spiritual Ger Toshav, which is the Chassidim Musa Olam, for having accepted 7 laws, rejecting Shituf. Then you're also a Ben Olam Haba. You are considered moil, and you are not oral. Again, a Jewish conversion is a higher level of called moil. So what do we hear by the term moil? Svei dinim. There's Jewish moil, and there's non-Jewish moil. An Ishmaelite, even though he's circumcised, is not considered moil at all, because he had no kavanah. He's considered oral. So you see how the Lefib Shuto, you cannot take these things literally, type 1. Even if they are literal, you still have to have the understanding to get it correct. The path of the non-Jew is to either stay a complete non-Jew or to not stay a complete non-Jew. A Jew is a Jew. He is removed from being a non-Jew, and he will try to become a non-Jew. That's called an apostate mumar. He is trying to reclaim his foreskin. That's called delusional. The kosher Jew accepts that he's a Jew. He doesn't try to become a non-Jew. The kosher Jew will probably, through Mazel, find himself working with non-Jews who are seeking to remove the foreskin and become a non-Jew. You hear that? A non-Jew. The non-Jew decides if he wants to become a Jew or if he wants to become a non-Jew. A non-Jew can remain and choose to remain a non-Jew. Someone can say that the non-Jews are allowed to worship in Shituf. So he's a good person. He gets the world to come on a lesser level, a non-Jewish level. God loves him, bless his heart, and he's a bless his heart. He's an all right guy. He just doesn't want that path, and he has that right. He has that right. As long as he's not Canaanite idolater, he is all right in worshiping in Shituf. So Shituf is good for some people and other people not. If somebody doesn't want to be Shituf, then they have to circumcise, either physically or spiritually. They go from oral to moil, and that does not make them Jewish. It makes them inherit the world to come. It makes them synonymous with Israel in several things. Same place of world to come. There's certain laws that affect the Ger Toshav as they affect a Jew. Don't taunt the Ger and such. If that person wants to become a Jew, for whatever reason, which we see, there's no Indian to do it. Because the world to come is already secured. I mean, they've already satisfied a certain level of spiritual maturity. That's why they're called a chassid. So what makes one want to become a Jew? That's up to them. I'm a wrestler. I achieved that. I had no desire to become a champion wrestler. That was just my lot in life. Didn't choose it. If I wanted to be a champion wrestler, okay, I would have chosen. Does that make the champion wrestler better than me? Absolutely not. They just chose to commit their lives to wrestling. I chose to become a wrestling fan, and I committed my life to it 20 years ago, and then I stopped. It really doesn't matter. It just matters, what you want to be and how you are. I mean, it's a personal choice. If circumcised at birth and came out of idolatry, how did you come out of idolatry? Through 7 laws? 1 or 2? Through 7 laws? 1 or 2? Okay, then your circumcision doesn't matter. You circumcised through the 7 laws. The 7 laws was your circumcision, not when you were born. If you want to circumcise physically, then you can add that to your resume. It does nothing different. It just makes it, if anybody doubts you, you just become more secure. But you're already 100% secure. 7 laws in this discussion, Justin Becker, is always synonymous with rejecting Shituf. Rambam, Hilchos Melachim 8, 10, 11 is only talking Ger Hasid, rejection of Shituf. The Ben Noach is a Goy. He has foreskin. He's a Shabbos Goy. His Olam Haba is not the same level that we're talking about. It is not a Jewish Olam Haba. There's a Goyish Olam Haba and a Jewish Olam Haba. And we're not talking about Jewish religion, Jewish people, culturally. It's like a quality. It's a spiritual quality. I would rather call it an Israelite, an Israel-ish Olam Haba. Do you want your Olam Haba to be Israel? Do you want your Olam Haba to be not Israel? Nachri is defined as not Israel. And you say, oh, I'm only in it for this world, and I'm not in it for reward, Rabbi Katz. Okay. So how do you want your reality in this world to be? Do you want your reality in this world to be Nachri, or do you want it to be Israel? That doesn't make you a Jew or an Israelite. Those are religious distinctions. We're talking about the fabric of creation, Jacques. Do you want a Nachri reality, or do you want an Israel reality? And that's up to you. Because guess what? I live in a wrestling reality. I achieved my dream of being a wrestler. So, okay, I'm not a champion. It doesn't matter. It's part of my DNA. I achieved the same thing that Jordan Burroughs achieved. He's a wrestler. I'm a wrestler. He has gold medals. I don't. I don't want the gold medal. My reward in wrestling is not his, and his is not mine, but they're both called wrestling reward. Israel is the wrestling with the divine. Absolutely. So that's another way of saying it, Justin. Do you want to wrestle with the divine, or do you want to not wrestle with the divine? Do you want the divine to give you everything through Shituf? It's up to you. If you want God to give it to you through Shituf, be Nachri. If you want to go to God, get it from God, be Israel. What do you call that? Nilva Ger. The attachments of Israel. 4th non-holy house of Israel Ger. There's a lot of terminologies you can call it. Just don't call it Jewish. Jewish is a religious term, and it's something completely different. If you want to be Jewish, then you have to get a kosher circumcision, and then now it's a different level of circumcision, and that has nothing to do with Olam Haba. That's called being Jewish for that person's personal reason. If you're doing it to say, I'm securing my Olam Haba no matter what, okay, then you did that. You converted for Olam Haba, but guess what? It's a very low-grade Olam Haba. If I had to look at two people, one was a non-Jew who said, I don't trust Rabbi Katz and the teachings. I'm going to convert to be safe for the sake of my world to come, versus a ger who becomes Chasidam Olam for the sake of the truth. Who has the greater Olam Haba, even though they're both on the level of Israel? The ger. The convert who converts Bedi Evid and not for the sake of heaven, even though he has an Israel Olam Haba, it just logically, he is not on the same spiritual level as the ger who did it according to the truth. And it's not a competition. We are not competing. All we're saying is, another way of saying it is, Rabbi, do I have to convert? Do I have to convert to have a good life here, to have a good life there, to have a good life with God, to have a good life with myself? Do I have to convert? The answer is, if you convert, you are guaranteed a better life than a Nachri, type 1. But to have a good life, you do not need to convert. But you do need to do at least a partial conversion to be ger. There's an existential difference in a spiritual quality of life than Nachri and Yisrael. And to become Yisrael, there are two ways to go about it. Conversion or partial conversion. The conversion is Yisrael becoming Jewish. Partial conversion is Yisrael Nilvager. Do not confuse Yisrael with Israelite. An Israelite is a Jew, third holy house of Israel. You say that's confusing. These terms have multiple meanings. You're right, it's fade in them, they do. So you better understand what you're signing up for. And you better get the terminologies right. And you better know the difference when we say Yisrael and Yisrael. There are many different meanings of Yisrael. Many. Many different meanings of goy, many different meanings of ger, many different meanings of foreskin, many different meanings of circumcised. It's very, very complicated. These are Iker terms, Lafib Shuto. So another way of saying it is if you don't care about these things, then you're an Achri. Because that means you have no comprehension of Torah and you don't care. If you do care and you want to care, well, then you're at least a ger chassid. And if you don't care, but you still want to be Jewish anyways, that's called a convert. Unless you convert for the sake of heaven, in that case, you do care, and that's just where you're at. Do I have to become Jewish to care? No. Do I have to, can a Nachri care? No. A Nachri will not care. Any questions before we turn off this recording? Going once. Going twice. Hello? No questions? Jacques, John? 3 J's? Justin, no? No? And no. Looks like maybe. Yes, no? All right. Have a great Shabbos. And this may have actually finished the series. We'll see what happens next week. I'm not sure if I'll add a third class to this mini-series or not. If I don't, we'll continue with the grand scope of things with the Discover Torah and Ger series. Stay tuned. Be well. God bless. Have a great Shabbos. Talk to you soon.